Hey everyone, it's Al. Before we begin tonight's special episode, I'd like to take a quick moment to mention our sponsor, Diabolical Coffee. We are stoked to have them back for another season with us. Devilishly good coffee and diabolically awesome swag. If you're a coffee lover, regardless of your taste or preference, they have an option for you. Whole bean, coarse, and standard grind, espresso, they even have a K-cup option. And now for the entirety of Season 7, you can use the promo code PRODUCESTAND for 10% off any coffee or merch purchased at diabolicalcoffee.com. So please support us by supporting them. Now, on with our show.
I hoped it wouldn't come to blows over a boogie. But I'll damn well go to blows for the boot scootin' boogie.
That fresh produce stand there, that's a beauty.
What do you listen to?
My favorite murder podcast.
Taggart and Torrance podcast.
The produce stand.
Fucking sexy.
Welcome to the Produce Stand, a podcast paying tribute to the great Canadian show, Letterkenny. Now, I know what you're thinking. There are many other podcasts about Letterkenny out there, but this one is ready to come to blows over Boot Scootin' Boogie. I'm Al, your host, and joining me in the room, as always, is the lovely Tanya, and online we have Squirrely Matt and the vulnerable Victor, and of course, the reason we're all here today is we're thrilled to welcome our very special guest. He is an award-winning Canadian actor known for his roles on The Plateaus, Damien, Zombies, The Bet, and Happily Ever After. He's also an accomplished stage actor, having performed in over 40 plays across the country. He's received a Montreal English Theatre Award, a Rideau Award, a My Ent World Critics Pick Award, and 3 Dora Award nominations. But we all know and love him as the tall, fast-talking Jim Dickens from Letterkenny. Please join me in making some noise for Alex McCooeye.
Wondrous!
Oh my god.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Wait. Oh my god.
I regret nothing!
Welcome to the Produce Stand, Alex.
Thank you very much. Did
I hope I got your last name pronounced properly.
you say McCooey? I don't know. I didn't notice anything.
Okay. Yeah, I did say McCooey. We're really thrilled to have you on tonight. Thank you for joining us. Where are you speaking to us from?
Toronto. I'm speaking to you from my my basement, which is actually getting work done on it right now. So I'm in my dingy Toronto basement.
Very
Nice.
good.
Well, we're basically neighbors.
Yeah. What part of Toronto? You don't have to be like no address, but West
Corso
End.
Italia. So you might hear some honking throughout this because Italy just beat Spain.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Semifinals. They're going to the final.
Yeah.
So there's been honking all night.
Yeah. I lived there in my college years at Montrose in college, basically. So you're
nice.
Yeah.
No, you're thinking Little Italy.
Oh.
I'm in Corso Italia, so they all went north to like Lansdowne, St. Clair area.
Oh,
That's my neighborhood. I mean, I'm just a little bit north of there, and very heavily Portuguese where I'm at, and it's gone a little quiet. A little quieter now, but
I find it odd they call it Corso Italia, and it's so
there's a lot
Portuguese
of
dominant.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
yeah, I'm Egg and Caledonia area, so
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's
Me too.
That's cool. And are you from Toronto originally?
No, I'm from Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in Newfoundland, but I grew up in Montreal, in the West Island, a little English part, and then moved to the Plateau in my early 20s. And then when it was time to start a career, I went to where there was more work, which was Toronto.
Very good. Yeah. So how did you get into acting?
Oh, I think I saw my brother in a production of Richard III when he was in, grade 9 or something. And I thought, I like that. I'd like to do that. And so I started doing high school productions. My high school had a great program that they called the Actors Studio.
With James
which
Lipton?
was really just a way to get out of English. Like you could go to the Actors Studio and it was just like, that was your English credit. So I thought that sounded good. That was the start of my day. And Louise Chalmers ran that program and we did plays every year. And then I went to John Abbott CEGEP College in Montreal and did 3 years of training there. And then I went to the National Theatre School in Montreal. So I did about 6 years too much training in acting and,
so
never looked back, I guess.
And your brother is an actor as well?
Not at all. No, he's terrible. He was terrible. he was playing like Ratcliffe or Spear Carrier number 4 or something like that. And I meant the guy who was playing Richard III was great. My brother was terrible.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
he was where you got your inspiration regardless.
So he was he was actually doing it to get out of English, but you were doing it because you were enjoying it.
That's right. Yeah.
Very good.
That's amazing.
I noticed also though, cruising through your Instagram, you're into photography as well.
You know what? That's a pandemic passion.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I sort of, I just thought just something to do, I found myself, I have 2 kids, 2 small kids. So a lot of like stroller nap walks were happening. And I was like, I am so sick of like looking at the same things here. I need a mission. I need a goal. Right. So I started taking photos of basketball nets. I'm a huge hoops fan.
Right.
Game 1 of the NBA finals is at 9:00 right after this interview.
Oh yeah.
Perfect time.
Pitter patter. Yeah. I guess we know what
we got our timeline there.
Yeah. We have our heart out there.
Perfect timing. Hard out.
Nice segue on that one.
Hard out.
But yeah, so I just started having fun with the camera and noodling around. I don't know. I might turn it into something, some kind of photography book or something.
Well, I love the alley oops shots. They're pretty good. They're pretty nice.
Thank you very much.
You want to describe what those are?
Yeah. So what I love about Toronto are all these back alleys. I used to live in like Queen West area, Little Portugal, and there's a ton of back alleys in that area. Oh, yeah. I just moved during the pandemic, actually. Oh. So I sort of fell in love with the artwork and the fact that there seems to be a hoop or 2 in every block of these back alleys. Yeah. And never anyone playing them. And most of them look like you couldn't shoot on it. There's like, they all have these bent rims and it's very strange, but it seems to be some sort of ritual that people feel the need to fulfill. So they put a hoop above their garage. So yeah, check it out. I think my Instagram handle is just my name.
Yeah. I highly recommend it. There's some really nice shots there. And I mean,
I've got a bunch in the can too that I gotta post. I sort of got bored with it, but I have 100 photos of Toronto's back alley hoops. More alley, less oops.
Yeah, I'm looking through my notes. It's pretty cool. And you're right. I mean, I see them all. Even my neighbor's got one set up in his backyard, and it's just a piece of plywood secured to a pergola with like a bent rim attached to it. So
does he even have like pavement, or is it like on grass?
No, he's got his whole backyard made of concrete now. So they're set to go.
But it's like it's strange when you see a kid. Wow. Actually,
especially during a pandemic, you'd think that's where they'd all be. They'd be out playing hoops.
Yeah, I walked by one at one point and there was a sign up that said, my son is 12 years old and has nowhere to practice during the pandemic. Right. Do you mind if we use your hoop? And I kept going back to check and see if there was anyone playing. I feel like that never got responded to. But that would have been a nice pandemic story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Road back alley hoop.
So looking at your and also the log jumping pictures were interesting. Where'd that come from?
No idea. Just a bunch of very just random standing on logs.
Pandemic boredom.
Yeah, pandemic boredom, pandemic brain.
Well, and I mean, speaking of the pandemic, like you said, like there's not much an actor can really do to keep your chops up during this without an audience. What were you? I may have noticed a Rogers commercial with featuring you.
Wow. Yeah, very good.
And I remember seeing it, going, "Wait a minute, that's Dickens." And I tried to find it to maybe play a clip of it here, but couldn't. So I'm not sure. I guess
I can't find it either. There's another one out there that I've never seen. Lotto Max. There's a Lotto Max commercial that I did as well earlier in the pandemic. I mean, take what you can get when it's a pandemic.
Oh, absolutely. Sure. Yeah, and I noticed you're using your Shakespearean chops for that Rogers commercial.
Yes, that's right. That's right. Yeah. Very, very important work.
Very good. Well, so I listed off all these great awards that you won. Which one do you hold dearest here? You have the Toronto Theatre Critics, My Theatre Awards, and the Meta, or is it Meta, the Montreal?
Yeah, I would say they're awards. Who cares? But Meta, I would say the Meta Award, just because I'm from Montreal, and if I'm not mistaken, that was the first year of those awards.
Oh, so you're the inaugural winner. That's amazing.
Of that one, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I played Dionysus, the god of love and wine, in the Bacchae, a Greek tragedy.
Yeah, I'm glad you pronounced it because I wasn't sure how to pronounce it.
The Bacchae?
Yeah, Bacchae. Yeah, but it's
I've heard it
like
pronounced. I've heard it pronounced a million ways.
A Bacchae is
Bacchae, Bacchae. Yeah.
So
I'd say that one because that was a little out of the mold for me. It was kind of this strange romantic Greek tragedy, and I was proud of that one.
Weren't you a centaur or something like that in that, or am I mistaken?
That's the name of the theater. So the main theater in Montreal is called Centaur Theater. Okay. There's two, Centaur and the Seagull. Mm-hmm. That's the name of the theater. Interesting. All right, so
I'm glad I didn't embarrass myself by asking that question. There we go.
Are you actually a centaur?
Well, I don't know. I mean,
we only see you from the waist up. So
yeah, you've played like many roles, and some of them look interesting. Like I was looking up like the Passover. You want to talk a little bit about that production? That seemed to be an interesting one that you just recently. Well, when I say recent, because of the pandemic, I mean 2019.
Yeah. So Passover is, it's interesting because this sort of second wave of with George Floyd and the Black Lives Matter movement, Passover was actually written before all that.
Right.
And it was written during sort of the first movement of that. And George Floyd, if I'm remembering, was shortly thereafter. After we did our production. So Spike Lee directed a filmed version of the Broadway production, which gave it a lot of traction. And Philip Aiken, who runs or used to run Obsidian Theater in Toronto, which is a theater company dedicated to Black stories. He saw it in New York and brought it here. So I played it's hard to describe. You kind of got to see the show, but it basically revolves. It's set on the streets of somewhere in time with two young Black men who are trying to get out. And I play someone called Mr., who's sort of seems like he's woke in some way, but in the end, anyway, it doesn't go well for the two guys. I don't want to give it away because the production isn't happening, but if you can see the Spike Lee version of the film, it's very good. I also play a horribly racist cop, and it's a dark show.
Wow. Yeah. Sounds it. I can't picture Dickens being anything but,
very different,
virtuous and
very different. And I think I closed that show and then I shot season 9, a week after or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you go, I was looking at your resume as well, and there's obviously very theater heavy, and then there's some film. Like, where's in between those two spaces? Where's your, I know a lot of actors sort of have their heart lives in one or the other, or are you just looking for work and you love them all? Like, where do you find yourself drawn more towards?
Yeah, great question. I definitely fell in love with the theater. I fell in love with not my brother, but the guy who's the good actor with my brother, and went to National Theater School where there's really no film training. Yeah. I think we do a week of film, and then you're thrown out into the world, and you realize that the money's in film, and there's a lot of passion in theater, and they're both great mediums for different reasons, but they're completely different, my skill set is in the theater for sure, but then you find a show like Letterkenny and
it transfers quite well in this one.
It transfers quite well. No one's asking you to be too to be too real or stop moving your face too much, and that's very helpful. So that I've done other stuff, but Letterkenny has been a great transition from theater to film for me, and with the pandemic and the theater shut down, I've definitely changed my focus to more film stuff and voice work. I do a lot of voice work as well.
Yeah. Well,
commercials.
So what's interesting, about theater work is, you really get to show your chops, and what's fun about Letterkenny is that you actually you do something really fun, and I'm just wondering if that's something that you knew you had a kind of a talent for, or you developed it on Letterkenny, and that's the whole fast talking aspect.
Yeah, I learned it in a day on YouTube.
The auctioneering bit, you mean? Yeah.
The auctioneering part. Yeah. So I knew about Letterkenny. I hope I'm not like derailing things here by moving on to talking about Letterkenny. But
no, not you. Victor did that. That's okay.
Victor did that. So.
I'm good.
I had a bunch of other questions about you playing a centaur, so I'm glad to move on.
How did you do the tail?
Was there another guy behind you?
Tail? Yeah. Because it wagged. I knew about Letterkenny. My brother-in-law is a firefighter, and they had all the firefighters had watched.
That's the PC version.
Yeah, I was going to say fire guys, and so what are they called? Firefighters, firemen and women. They were all in the hall. They had watched a bunch of YouTube videos of that initial stuff that had come out. I think when I got the audition for season 2, I don't think season 1 was out yet, so it was kind of just this show that everyone had heard about. And so he showed me those independently. He showed me those videos, and we sort of chatted about it and went, "How's this going to transfer to an episodic television show?" Because they're such little snippets of Canadiana. They're hilarious,
and they're monologues. They're basically monologues.
Yeah, right, exactly. They're like little poems. So it's like, how's this going to work? And then I get the audition, and it's like it's the 800% bullshit scene, and I'm going like, this is the craziest. I do 1 or 2 auditions a week. This is the craziest thing I've seen.
That's great.
And I grew up going to auctions. So I grew up, my grandparents lived in the Ottawa Valley, and I went to auctions.
Right.
Basically every time I visited them, they were obsessed. I used to get these presents as a kid, where you'd be like a half completed activity book. And you'd be like, okay, grandma got this at the auction. I had like pink sandals. I'm like, when my grandma died, we went into, to clear out her apartment. We found this giant box that was just called gifts.
Oh man. Okay.
It was full of presents it was just junk that she had accumulated, like a Marilyn Monroe poster from 1974, where she's like, no one is going to use this.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's all from auction. So I grew up, and as a kid, you can't bid on anything. I think you have to be 18. And so I was just there and watched the funny men talk fast. So I was oddly prepared for this audition when I got it. I went on YouTube, and there's, some colorful characters that are just kind of like, yeah, you just gotta talk really fast. You come up with a little lilt, come up with a little pattern, and then So I worked on that, ran lines with my partner, and she was like, "Yeah, it's sounding good, but you sound different when you're auctioneering than when you're just saying, the normal lines. You just so I'm like, okay, well, maybe I should do something where he's always presenting, and all right, I'll talk like this between the lines, and then so she gave me that little note, and I went in and did the audition and booked it. But really, it's just, you can learn anything on YouTube.
Sure, yeah.
You really can. But something else that I've learned since from an auctioneer, a trick that I learned is, and because I have to drive 4.5 hours from Toronto to Sudbury,
right,
to shoot. I don't know if I'm allowed to say where we filmed.
We know. Don't.
All listeners know.
Yeah.
Okay. So an auctioneer told me he learned while you're driving on the highway, start in the right lane really slow, and as you hit each little median post thing, change your count. So they normally do 5. So you start slow and you go 1. I'm looking at 1. I got 1. Can I get 2? Can I get 2? 2. Can I get 3? So just start like that, and then slowly increase your speed, and you have 4.5 hours. So by the time I got to Sudbury,
you're nailing
it. My first season, I was an auctioneer.
Amazing.
That's the best.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
And was the role originally cast as an auctioneer, or did you bring that to the table? Okay.
No, yes. I mean, this is the thing. What I find being an actor is you get way too much credit. Like it was all on the page. So for that first season I did, season 2, it was all on the page. You know, I improvised a little bit. I improvised certain lines like, why do birds suddenly appear every time I auctioneer?
That was you.
You know, that was me. Like
perfect.
Things like that happen. Jacob and Jared are so free on set that you can kind of just, I didn't know in my first season, well, I'll throw in a little ad lib at the end of the take. I didn't know whether it would end up in the show. I kind of suspected
it turns out to be your most known
my line.
Yeah. That's your line. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's great to hear that too, because we spoke to Tyler as well, and he said something very similar where, you know, everything's very much scripted, but you guys are given some freedom, and even if it doesn't make the show, everyone laughs and enjoys it, and it's very well accepted, and some things make it, some things don't, but it's very open, kind of set in terms of, you know, having some freedom here and there.
Yeah, and I think part of that is because it's such a huge core cast, you know. I mean, I don't even consider myself core cast, but it's a huge cast of people who have been with the show for a long time.
Yeah.
And so everyone kind of knows the rules. And if you're new, you learn them pretty quick. So I feel like when I arrived on season 2, I just kind of picked up on the vibe.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that might've been the first scene I shot was that my audition scene, and threw in that. And then Jacob came over and was like, yeah, maybe he's really into song lyrics. Maybe he throws in like 70s song lyrics. And so then I shot the Ag Hall scene and went, hands up, baby, hands up. Give me your heart. Give me. Like, you know, just started throwing stuff in.
I love it.
And it's like, so to be given that license is so fun, right?
Yeah.
I mean, get that on other shows. You just stick to the script, or if you have a suggestion, you maybe talk to the director, talk to a writer, and just sort of say, you know, I'm thinking this, but I don't feel the need to do that on Letterkenny. Maybe I should. Maybe I'm doing it wrong, but you know, I always feel like if it's wrong, they'll tell me, and they have. It's just you sort of throw things out there while we're filming, and but for the most part, everything's on the page.
Yeah.
So as Victor mentioned, we had Tyler on, and he mentioned how you know, he feels like he got rewarded with more time, more lines. You know, like his character became a bigger part of the cast in, you know, subsequent seasons. Now, just so you know, our podcast, we're just starting season 7 right now in terms of our
no spoilers. Is that?
Well, that's the thing. So I'm going to
haven't yet, have I?
Gingerly ask you this question, because I know a lot of our listeners who have gone ahead, they're like, oh, we have to ask you this question. I'm like, I'm not going to spoil that, but I do notice that, and I don't think I'm giving anything away. Jim Dickens is a bigger part of this ensemble cast in later seasons, in season 8 and 9, especially. So is that something that they let you know just on, like, in the scripts, or do they say, congratulations, Alex, we want you back more often or something? What?
There's a trophy that they give back. No, I mean, my gig that I signed up for was a 3-episode part in season 2. That was it.
Yeah.
And I had no expectation of being there longer than that. And at the end of that season, or, you know, my last day of filming, Jared sort of casually said, well, see you next season.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then it just sort of never stopped. Right.
Yeah.
So no, I get the scripts. I get an availability check normally, and they see if you're available for the season. Therefore, if you are, they will write for you. So they're not writing scripts that won't get used, which makes sense, right? So they check your availability. I say yes, and then I get the scripts and I come in and I do them. So no, there's no official conversation or anything like that. Yeah, it's kind of just as it comes. It's season by season. I think it's as you're needed, right? I mean, what's going to serve the show, and it's such a fun part that
I'm sure.
I feel so lucky to be able to keep coming back and doing different things, and you know.
Yeah. And I'm looking so forward to more. I mean, even some of the early seasons, your character was used so appropriately at such key times, whether it was the election or the talent show and things like it was so welcomed into the episodes, and you really became the stars in those episodes, which was fantastic as well. Sort of leading the whole show, and it's so fun to watch.
He's the resident MC of the
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And DJ critic. So look. So just going back to your resume real quick here, you've got stage combat and fencing as some skills that you bring to a cast.
Oh, we just bulk up our resumes. That's just
well, I'm wondering because I mean there's a lot of fighting in Letterkenny. To my knowledge, I can't remember if Dickens has been involved in any of those.
Yeah,
has
he joined Donnybrook or two
in the seasons we've already reviewed.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, wait, I don't know what season is what.
7,
but
yeah.
7, yeah. I think 7.
We're just starting 7.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Matt, you're letting the cat out of the bag. I don't think Dickens has been in a fight yet. But anyway,
I'm intrigued.
Yeah. So do you look forward to that kind of stuff? Like, would you like to see kind of more physical humor?
Yeah, I'd love to be in more fights.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love that. I don't want to spoil anything, but I had a really good time doing a stunt. I think it must be season 7 or 8 that happens.
Yeah. So we'll be looking out for that. Yeah.
Yeah, look out for that. Yeah, I love that stuff. I've done some fencing, like I did King Lear at the Harborfront 2018, I think, and played Edmund, who's got a big sword fight at the end. It was, like a 10-minute sword fight, which was so fun. And that's sort of the biggest one I've done, but I love that stuff. It's so fun.
Yeah. And before our listeners set us straight later, he was part of he joined Donnybrook at the Never Work a Day in Your Life.
Oh, right. Okay. Yes.
What season's that?
That's,
now I'm gonna.
That's 5, I think.
That's 5. Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
So I got to smash one of the.
Oh, the bottles, the breakaway bottles.
Bottle.
Yes.
We heard you had lots of those.
Yeah. Kate Trev told us that you guys had an increase in budget for that season for breakaway glass, and so
so fun. I mean, I felt kind of bad. He did cut his head on one of the takes,
really,
but not bad. And I mean, that's his job. He's a stunt guy. He was great. But that stuff is so fun, when you get to, then you don't have to really fight. I'm not a fighter, but it's fun to pretend.
So before we leave the theater behind and go into Letterkenny, I want to hear just a little bit about the importance of being earnest, because that's the clip that I found on YouTube, and I was just mesmerized, and I wanted more, and I still need to find a way to be able to see that in its entirety. But kind of what's your recollection of that, and what do you take away from that?
Well, that was at the National Arts Center. I was a part of they had a resident acting company at the National Arts Center in Ottawa. They got actors. The first year I did it, it was 22 actors from across the country.
Wow.
The second year was like 18. And then I came back a couple of years later and we were 10 actors from across the country that came together, and we did 3 shows. The first one being The Importance of Being Earnest. Was so fun. And Jill Kiley, who's the artistic director, said she brought me for that role to play Algernon and his cucumber sandwiches. That was a blast. The worst part about that show was when I showed up for my fitting, and they had me sit down with the wig person. I was like, what's this about? She's like, oh, we're just going to put a little piece because everyone talks about his wonderful curly hair. And they put like a little piece in my hair. And I was like, well, what's this about? And I went to the director and was like, Ted, they've given me a piece, like they've given me kind of a toupee for the show. And he's like, Alex, no one's going to buy you as 27. And I was like, I'm 28. Like, brutal. But other than that, the show was great. It was the show where I realized I was balding. But it was great.
Well, you're at 6'9". I'm sure it took a while for anybody to notice that you were bald.
No one noticed, including myself. I got to keep my nose hairs trimmed, but the top of my head's fine.
Brilliant.
Yeah. No, but that's a great show, and I hope to do it again. I'm probably too old by far now, but I could play something else.
So speaking of new productions, do you have anything planned or slated for when the pandemic finally ends? Anything?
There's a couple things, that I had a show that was canceled. We were about to hit the stage. So we were like week 4 or 5. I was doing the Seagull at Soul Pepper in town. So there's shows like that are kind of I had another couple that were put to rest when the pandemic hit and was, we're going to delay a month. And then it was like, okay, this might be a bit longer.
Right.
Okay, we're officially canceling, but we'll see, we're sort of in the we'll see phase when they come back.
Right.
But in the meantime, I'm occupied with, I just did a TV show that I can't talk about, but that kept me busy.
We're intrigued.
So look out for that. Keep refreshing my IMDb. I'm auditioning all the time and for voice and other stuff. So.
Well, and just so you know, you're still a big deal in this household. Besides Letterkenny, Zombies is a big movie in this household.
Kids.
My 7-year-old daughter loves it, and I mean, you've got young kids too. Do they see Dad on in that movie and go, "Wow, that's you," or no?
My daughter who's my oldest is 3.5.
Oh, okay, so not quite old enough.
So not yet.
Yeah.
She's terrified of like the nicest movies.
Right.
If there's any conflict, she's like, So no, I'm not showing her Zombies. The Disney Zombies. They're still zombies.
Yeah, fair enough. Now that you're, Canada's maybe most famous auctioneer, do you get? Are you are you tempted to go back to Ottawa to those auctions and like walk around and and say?
You'd be surprised. I can't tell you the offers I've got to come and be a guest auctioneer. That's
amazing.
The worst one was Auto Trader. Auto Trader contacted me and asked me to come and do 3 days of live auctioneering for Auto Trader. And I was like, I can't. I'm not an auctioneer. I'm not You want me to sell your cars? I can't do that. I'll probably get caught up in the moment and say sold at $10,000. It'll be a Lamborghini. It's an actual skill. People go to school for this.
That's the best.
I can't do that. And it's not the only one. Every time it comes up, I'm like, one of these days, maybe I'll just say yes.
You should just do it. Fuck it.
Screw over a company. Just so you know, I'm not actually an auctioneer. All right, let's get started. Thing starts at $5,000.
You got any road posts around here? Let me count them.
Yeah, exactly.
That is brilliant.
Yeah, I there was another one that I actually wanted to do, which was the Alberta. Had no idea this existed. The Alberta Auctioneering Championships or something it was called. They invited me to come out and be a celebrity judge. And the scheduling didn't work out. I couldn't do it, but it would have been.
That would have been perfect. Yeah.
And just talking to them on the phone, they were auctioneers are wonderful. They are wonderful, strange people. I feel like I'm actively portraying what auctioneers are like.
Oh, okay. Have you gotten any feedback or critique from auction?
No.
Actual?
I'm sure if I did, they'd be like, "No, we're nothing like that. What are you doing? You ruined our name."
But you never had.
But I was actually nice. It was nice to hear that the auctioneering championship committee wanted me as a celebrity judge, so I didn't offend them too much. Maybe I just did if they listen to this podcast. But
well, you're the most famous auctioneer I know, so I can't even think of another auctioneer.
Yeah, there was a commercial when I was a kid with an auctioneer. He with the Micro Machines guy. So
when preparing for this interview, I did go down a YouTube rabbit hole, and
of auctioneers.
Well, no, remember the guy? You might be. Well, actually, you're not. You are much younger than I am, so you may not remember this guy. But he's the Micro Machines guy. He was a fast talking guy. Did a lot of commercials. He did Micro Machines and some pizza chain. I forget.
Oh, yeah. No, I do remember that guy.
And he's actually got. Well, he held the world record for the fastest talking human.
Right.
And it was his skill, and because of that skill, he was able to book a bunch of these commercials. And I think he probably played an auctioneer once or twice. But yeah, so yeah, I went through down that rabbit hole.
That's what I tell the people that ask me to auctioneer. I say, it's a skill. It's a real skill that I don't have. I pretend. It's like asking an actor who plays a doctor to perform surgery. It's like, you don't want me actually selling anything.
Well, you got the George Clooney looks, and so they want you to, pretend to be a doctor or pretend to be an auctioneer.
That's it.
Very nice. Thank you. When we found out you were coming on the podcast, obviously we let our listeners know, and they all got really excited, and we asked them for some questions for you. So if you don't mind, we'll pepper you with some of these listener questions.
Hit me with it.
So our friend Chad here, he wants to know, how many takes does it usually take for you to do all those fast talking lines?
Not because of me, but not a lot. We shoot fast usually. Mm-hmm. And so normally 1 or 2 or 3, one on a day that makes me very nervous. And Jacob goes, no, it's good. We got it. Normally I get, 2, I'd say 2. And then, it depends on how many camera angles there are, but on my close up, let's say I'll get 2 and they'll say, do you want another one? And if I'm not feeling great, I'll take another stab. But all the prep is before, right? You got to come in ready, or else you're wasting everyone's time. Yeah. And, I love the days where I don't have to do the fast talking because the prep is so much easier. Right. Just come in and say 3 lines, and, then the night before I can watch the basketball game in my hotel room. But the fast talking ones, they take prep. They take the 4.5 hour drive and counting between goalposts. So
that's a good point, actually. We just did the Valentine's Day episode, and I kind of wondered, because we were raving about the actress who played the matchmaker and how good she was, and coming in. So she's only been on the show twice that we know of, but coming into a show where the ensemble cast is so established and so tight knit, and to deliver a performance like that, like now you're kind of part of the ensemble cast, but before you weren't. You're kind of somebody coming in just to do three episodes. How much pressure, or did you feel that, or were they more welcoming because you weren't part of the everyday team? Like, how did you feel coming into that?
I mean, I feel pressure with any gig, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you just want to do well. But they're an incredibly welcoming bunch. Mm-hmm. You feel like you've known them as soon as you walk on set. So there was immediately any nerves I had were squashed, and I was just chatting with a bunch of friends. Mm-hmm. They all go and spend 2 months there and, have their residences and live together, and they all go to dinner together. I'm still just a guy who drives up, does my thing, and leaves.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I don't have enough to really make it worthwhile for me to stay. And they usually are pretty good about scheduling it so that I'm not, driving back and forth 5 times mm-hmm. for a season. I come and I'll film it and then leave after a few days. But yeah, it's not an intimidating environment at all.
Is that unique? Do you find that unique? Like, have you been on sets where you're like, holy crap, like no one?
Yeah, because when TV shows have been around a long time, you get people who are kind of like anyone who's been at a job for a long time. They're disgruntled in whatever way, right? Usually they're pretty good about hiding it, but they're not necessarily eager to make people feel welcome. And I'm not even speaking to a specific experience, but mm-hmm. it's just, I can only imagine what it's like to do 9 episodes as a lead on a TV show. It's tiring, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of hard work.
Right.
And you don't feel that when you're on set. It just feels fun and easy, and the time flies by, and there's a trust, and there's a commitment, and a loyalty, right? They're really loyal to the people that they've brought in, and they believe in them. And so it seems like pretty often that people that they bring into the show, they bring back in some capacity. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. And that's a wonderful thing. And so you end up where you get Jim Dickens, who I think I'm number 18 or 19 on the call sheet. And I'm in my, I don't know, 7th season or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Oh, it's great.
Wonderful.
Not bad for booking three episodes for one season, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's the dream, right? You get to do a show. And the other thing about Letterkenny is, not to disparage Canadian content, because there's a lot of great stuff out there, but as a Canadian actor, you kind of come to accept that maybe the work you do won't be on par with your taste, right? That you're going to do jobs, and you accept that what I do is different from what I watch. Right. And then you do a show like Letterkenny, I'd watch this show. Yeah. I enjoy it. I watch the seasons, and I forget that I'm in it because it's so fun. I know a good podcast you should listen to as well then.
I'm gonna steal a segue there, and I've asked every guest on this. I mean, basically what you just said, and knowing how far you've come, like, how does it feel to be a part of something like Letterkenny? I mean, from our perspective, we're Canadian, we love the show, it's amazing, but it's spreading. Like, majority of our listeners are in the US. We have listeners as far as Australia who are big into the show, all over the world now. The show is starting to pop up in little pockets, and knowing that you're part of something like this, like as an actor, what does that mean to you being a Canadian as well?
Yeah, it's wonderful. And it's not something I ever expected, right? As someone who comes from theater, you don't really think that you're going to be a part of something that has world traction. Like, I was recognized in the Amsterdam airport.
Really? That's awesome.
That's amazing.
I was recognized like just outside of LA once. And I was like, what? This is where all the famous people live. That's whatever. That's one thing. But it's the thing that I love about the show is that the people who love this show, as you guys know, love it. They really love it. Yeah. And that is so cool. That's so special, right? To be a part of something that people are really digging. Even if it's like 10 people, which I think it's more than that, but it's a little bit. That's a really special thing to be a part of. And to know that you're one of those people, right? Yeah. That I would feel the same way. I would be telling, just from the YouTube videos, my brother-in-law were talking about it, and I was telling friends about it, check these out. And now to be a part of it is, it's so special. And
well, speaking of fans from other parts of the world, our buddy Jack, he's from Australia. He had a couple of questions. You already answered one because he wanted to know about the fast talking, whether it was a skill you knew before or whether you needed to learn it. So we know about that. But his other question is, do you ever get called dick skin on the street? And do you get annoyed by it? We hear about actors who may have like these nicknames and they get big and famous, and then they hate hearing it. How do you feel when you hear dick skin?
It only happens right after a season's come out. Right. Because people, I'm fresh in people's mind. I don't think I'm that recognizable on the street, oddly, even though I'm 6'9". Like, right. I'm not wearing a cowboy hat.
You don't blend in, but yeah.
And I think the cowboy hat is pretty iconic for Jim Dickens. So yeah, it's happened a couple times. No, I don't find it annoying. It means they love the show, and that's great.
How do you have a canned response, or do you even acknowledge, or what do you do?
Yes, I have a canned response. It's the same response in the show. Is it Dickens?
well on you. That's great.
And if it did tick me off, I can really just say that, and then they back off.
You've kind of validated them as well. They're not sure it's you, but they say it anyways. And you come back with Dickens. I knew it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Go ahead, take a sip, and I'll ask you our next question here. Our buddy Justin Trollinger. We need an episode of Jim in his natural habitat. Yes, that would be great. We need an episode an auction episode. Why haven't they done that yet? I know you don't write the show, but is that
I don't write the show.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah. Yeah. An idea I've always wanted to do. Yeah, that would be great. I'd love to judge real auctioneers on the show.
Right.
That would be very
Or maybe
fun.
just have like the different cast, like the different characters, try out as an auctioneer and you're the judge. Yeah. Like have Riley and Jonesy. Obviously they're always one. Have maybe Squirrely Dan and have Stewart or Rolled or whatever also trying out as an auctioneer. That'd be
That's great. Well, I've heard some cast on set try it and they're good.
Oh.
They're good. Yeah. There's some good ones out there. So I'll pitch it.
Jason Eichard wants to know, how many tall jokes do you get on set? You mentioned you're 6'9". You're basketball height, and no wonder you're a fan. First of all, did you play basketball or do you play basketball?
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Yeah. I played till I was 16 or something. Sorry, I burped. Hope you didn't catch that.
We wouldn't have acknowledged, but since you did.
I played maybe 18
Center?
or something. I played center.
I hope so.
I was this
Wouldn't have
height at
guessed.
14. So I was the
shit.
giant kid at 14 where they were like, that's not fair.
Yeah.
Pass me the ball under the net, and all the children try and
At
grab my elbow.
14, you were full height.
Yeah, and I did I played against some NBA players like the year before they went into the NBA. Al Jefferson reverse dunked on me the year before he went into the NBA.
You've got that under your belt.
Yeah.
Well, you're from Montreal. Have you ever played with Boucher?
No, they're too young. They're too young.
Yeah.
They're all too young. But I played in the same system as Dort, I think, is a player who's playing right now, and he played for a team that I played on, the Brookwood Elite, which was a traveling team. We went to the States and played in the Nike Showcase tournament in Orlando and stuff. Yeah, I was tall. They always just said you can't teach height, but the problem is they had trouble teaching me skills as well. So,
well, you just needed a 6-hour long drive to learn the skills, because that's apparently
that's right. I needed YouTube, which didn't exist yet.
YouTube,
that's what I needed.
We've come a long way, haven't we?
Yes, just YouTube.
So if YouTube had existed, we may not have had Alex McCooeye, the actor. He would have been the NBA star.
That's right. That's right.
So do you get a lot of tall jokes then on set? That's what Jason's question was.
On set, not as much. I mean, people are pretty respectful, but
yeah, look at you laugh that out.
I'll hear from like Billy, the DP, will be like, oh, it's not so much at me, but he'll be like, I'll hear him kind of grumble that they've got to raise a light or whatever. I'm like, yeah, okay, I get, fair enough. Yep, raise the light. I'm a giant.
Where's that shadow coming from? It's Alex. Exactly. He's in the shot. Oh shit,
Alex. Yeah, Alex is blocking the light again, and we have him sitting.
Well, you bring Billy's name up here. Here's a listener question. Dickskin, a prince of a man, and that comes from Billy Buttry. So when he heard you were coming on, he wanted to put his 2 cents in.
He's a sweet guy.
Yeah,
and good at what he does.
Yeah, we're hoping to have him on soon. Been in talks.
Nice.
Trace Webb wants to know how much of the auctioneer patter do you just make up, or is every word on paper?
Yeah, I make up. Now I make up a lot of it. Initially, that first season, every word was on paper. I think.
Ish.
Ish. It'll be like ramble in brackets, but it would be like 1, 2, 3 ramble, auctioneer ramble. Now it's like, it'll be like, Jim Dickens has a line that's, you want one. He goes on.
He goes.
So they just kind of give you the meat, and then you fill in everything between.
And then I fill it in. We're not going to write this. I mean, that first season, or season 2, I had to do ADR, which is when you come back after filming and record your lines. And the poor person, who I don't know who it was that had to do this, but they had to give me a script to match what we were seeing on screen.
Right.
It was the Dragon's Den episode where I'm with the McMurrays. And so because there were scenes where we were all talking at the same time, I needed to re-record some stuff, and someone like I had like this 10-page document all written out, everything I had said.
To transcribe that mess.
Well, luckily though, you're not on screen for most of that, so I'm sure you didn't have to be like exact.
Yeah, so it didn't have to be like, there were only certain moments where it was like, okay, you need to say $4 bidder right here, you know. But that you'll walk in for a half-hour ADR session, and it's like, okay, it's 9 p.m.
Another question from our buddy Trace: do you even like Boot Scootin' Boogie?
You know, Grace, I hate to break your heart. I couldn't sing you a line from it right now. I listened to it for the show and I appreciated it, but I no longer remember it.
Fair enough. Jason,
I will request it at weddings.
Well, yeah,
because you got it.
Yeah, you have to make the fans happy. So Jason Eichert wants to know, as you take a swig, what is your go-to drink?
Yeah, it's beer. It's beer.
Yeah.
Craft beer. Try them all in the city. Henderson Brewery is probably my favorite. I really like Hamilton has Collective Arts, which I really like.
Oh, they're solid.
Yeah, I was just there. I got my vaccine in Hamilton. I don't know why they sent me there, but I was I made a day out of it and stopped at Collective Arts and picked up a case. I used to live near Bellwood, so this sort of got me hooked. And but yeah, I'm a beer drinker.
Yeah, and there's so much good beer here in the city.
It's so good. Yeah. And I mean, you know, if I'm going to the cottage or something, I'll grab a 6-pack of Molson or whatever. But yeah, I love craft beer. Love an IPA.
Final listener question. It's not even a question. It's just a comment. Just another thank you for this incredible show and the laughs it gave us that we needed so badly. That's from our buddy Redbeard out in Nova Scotia. Yeah, we're all thankful. New Brunswick. Sorry, Redbeard.
East Coast.
I should have just said East Coast. That would have been the safe.
Atlantic bubble.
Yeah. I mean, it got us through this pandemic. I mean, this podcast is a pandemic project. So it's been great. So all I have left here, we've got 6 minutes. We have our speed questions. So we're gonna really get to know you really fast here. So just first question, first answer that comes to mind: coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Tim's or Starbucks?
Tim's.
Good Canadian boy. Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, Victor approves. If your life was made into a movie, who would play you?
Oh, Shaq.
Why not? Plywood's answer was Jason Momoa. So there you go. I mean,
I'll take Jason. Can I change my answer?
No, you're locked in. If you could have dinner with anyone, dead or alive.
Dead or alive.
Yeah.
My mom. No.
That's everyone's answer. Well, everyone's answer. Yeah.
Oh, it's probably my mom.
It's Shorzy's answers too.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, Victor, you're so well behaved until now. Come on. Best vacation.
Can I change my answer to Shaq? I think it's probably Shaq.
Dinner with Shaq or the actor. Gotcha.
Yep. No, dinner with Shaq. What was the favorite actor? Is not Shaq.
No.
What, Shazam wasn't a favorite of yours?
Let's move on. But
he's good.
I don't want to shock you, but the answers to these questions aren't really that important. This is just for.
Okay, because I also probably prefer dogs. So.
Best vacation.
Best vacation, Italy.
Oh, it sounds great. I'd love to.
I thought you'd say Sudbury, but anyway.
Yeah. Close second, Thunder Bay. The Amalfi Coast.
Wow.
Yes.
Window or aisle seat?
Pardon?
Window or aisle seat?
Have you seen my legs?
Right.
Exit seat. Exit seat is the answer.
Exit only.
No, the worst thing that the airlines have done is they started charging for the exit seat.
Have they? No. Yeah.
I used to walk into the airport and they'd be like, "Oh, we got an exit seat on our hands." Now I go and they're like, "Should have got here earlier. $50. That gentleman just bought it. And it's like some guy who's 5'4" who just wants to stretch his legs out. Yeah. So aisle.
At least you save on the neck pillow because you can just rest your chin on your own knees, sitting in those seats.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Beer. Well, you already answered this. Beer, wine, or liquor. You're a beer man. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
I'm a night owl that has had to learn how to be an early bird with kids.
Welcome to parenthood.
Yeah. If you could be someone else for a day, who would that be?
Shaq. No, Shaq. Bad answer. If I could be someone, I like me. I don't know.
No, that's a perfectly good answer.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, that's great. I don't want to be anyone else.
And final question: a secret, something that no one knows. It could be about you, or it could be just an interesting fact in general.
The fact I always say that I kind of like is my. Well, I guess it's not secret then, but I only a few people know. My uncle used to be part owner of the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Oh yeah,
nice.
That's pretty cool.
Kind of fun.
Yeah, that's great.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
kind of fun, right?
Very good.
And he was sued by them. Do you remember when Mario Lemieux had this whole lawsuit with the Pittsburgh Penguins?
Yeah.
I think my uncle was like number 2 on that.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, that just makes the story even better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a little secret something.
There you go. Well, Alex, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We'll let you get to your basketball game. We really appreciate it. So where can folks find you online?
Hit me up on Twitter and Insta. I'm not a very active social media person, but that's where I live. You normally just find me commenting on basketball or but I'll always post if I'm a part of something that I want people to know about. I'll always post about it.
That's great. Well, who do you have in the playoffs?
All my teams are gone. I had the Clippers, but I think Milwaukee's gonna win the final if Giannis is healthy.
Are the Clippers your favorite team, or you just thought they were?
No, the Raptors are my favorite team by far.
Yes.
But I just thought they were gonna. I thought they were gonna do.
And we just need to clear that up.
Yeah, don't worry. Yeah, I'm definitely a Raptors fan.
That's great.
Nice.
And do you have anything you want to plug? Upcoming production or anything?
I can't yet.
That's right. Okay.
We talked about this, Al. One job.
Wait. You can't say anything about the show, but at what point in the future should we be looking out for it?
I don't know officially, but my guess is the fall.
The fall.
Nice.
All right.
Yes.
And I mean, let us know and we'll try to amplify it through our channels. And if ever you want to come back, because then we can ask you about season 8 and 9 questions that we would love to have you back. And there are many questions that could be answered for those seasons.
This is the close, but how does this work? You watch each show and then you talk about it.
Yeah, we're an after show, so just like a sports after show. So we'll watch an episode and then we'll comment on it. Like I'll do a recap.
Together.
We do a comment, and our listeners we find are watching it with us and then listening and
do their homework every week.
Yeah, they do their homework with us. It's amazing. It's been a lot of fun. We got a little community going here with like they said, guys from people from the States, from Australia, Canadians, and it's just been a lot of fun. I mean, it's been a great way to get through the pandemic, and we've built a really nice little community. So very supportive, and they love Letterkenny. Anything Letterkenny. Everyone's ecstatic about the new Shorzy spinoff.
Everyone's can't wait.
Yeah, everyone's on pins and needles about it, like season 10 and 11 news, obviously, and Letterkenny Live. I was going to ask you this, but I don't want to get you in trouble. So if you can't say anything, have you been asked to join the Letterkenny Live?
I can't say anything.
No, okay. So don't want to get you in trouble. Anyway, we're going to play us off here with one of my favorite songs from the show. It's called That's It. You know what? So
that would have been so perfect.
This is true.
This?
I considered Boots Scootin' Boogie. But the problem there is YouTube could cancel us, would bar our episode from getting posted. Because it's such a big song, right?
Major.
So I have to stick to the Letterkenny catalog, which I love. I mean, it's amazing music. This one's called That's It, That's All by We Are the City, one of my favorite tunes. So thanks
so much, Alex.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thanks, buddy. Really appreciate it.
That was so fun.
All right. We'll have you back.
Yeah. I'll tune in from here on out.
Perfect.
Nice.
And that's all we have for this episode. Don't forget to give our sponsor, Diabolical Coffee, some love. They're at diabolicalcoffee.com. Right now, you can use a promo code ProduceStand for 10% off any purchase from their site. If you'd like to support the podcast, rate us on iTunes or become a patron. There's a Patreon link on our site or Twitter profile at ProduceStand. We are also on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at ProduceStandPod. Thank you for joining us. Now we're going to go drink some puppers with our new friend Alex. Do I hear 2 puppers? Can I get 2 puppers, 3 puppers, 3 puppers? Going once, going twice. Sold. That took a lot of guts for me to do in front of you there, Alex. On behalf of Alex, Matt, Victor, Tanya, and myself, have a great night.